Hello, listeners. I'm your host Jayasree, and you're listening to TALRadio, powered by Touch a Life Foundation. Welcome to Leadership for Life with Kyra Cavanaugh, President of 15B Wellbeing, a company dedicated towards creating learning experiences for leading corporations, workplaces, teams, groups, and individuals. Because they believe that no one should sacrifice well-being for performance. In today's interview, we are going to focus on managing your energy in terms of leadership. Yeah, we have already spoken about how to manage your energy on a general prospect, but then we are trying to talk about this on more of a leadership context today. So without any further delay, let's please welcome Kyra onto our show. Hello, Kyra. Thank you for being back on TAL Radio.
Thank you so much. Hello, Jayasree, and hello, everyone. So glad to be back with you today to talk about energy and leadership.
Absolutely wonderful. I can't wait to shoot all of my questions.
All right, let's go.
Yes. So my first one. How does managing your energy influence your decision-making process as a leader?
So how do you make good decisions when you're exhausted? Do you make good decisions when you're angry? Or you've just come out of a meeting where you had to compromise? Or someone who is more dominant than you was creating an environment where you felt intimidated or unsure or like you lacked confidence? You're not going to make the same kind of decision. You may not analyze or consider all the different aspects. You may decide just to shut down because you want to avoid the conflict. You may feel so depleted and frustrated and unheard that the way you convey the decision or communicate the decision may be different. So if you just think about all of the times that our energy feels scattered, depleted, low, uncertain, shaky, exhausted, then you can imagine how it would impact your decision making. So if you think about what happens when you feel rested, when you feel respected, when you feel joyful, when you feel like you have everything you need for your happy life, how then are you able to come into a decision from a place of generosity or from a place of compassion? So as I described that, hopefully you can kind of feel the difference, because emotions, I've been talking about emotions are energy. We don't always think about our feelings as energy, but we can sense if I feel sad, Jayasree, you may notice, something's different about her energy. So energy isn't just, did you get a good night's sleep, or did you have a meal, or did you enjoy time with your pet or out in nature? Yes, we can feel shifts in our energy then. We can also feel thoughts and feelings and sensations in our body. We can consider those as energy as well. So when we're talking about energy and leadership, it's actually a pretty broad concept and a way to really be, I would encourage you as you listen today to really be thinking about, which aspects of my energy are energy that I've never really thought of, like feelings.
Beautiful, beautiful. The connection of energy and emotions perfectly makes sense. Having understood this quality affecting the decision-making process, in what ways can leaders inspire their teams to adopt effective energy management practices? Because it's also important that the teams are also on the same page as the leaders in order to function perfectly. So how do you advise that?
Yeah, so I think there are two aspects to consider as a leader. How can you support the individuals that you're leading? So those may be family members, they may be direct reporting people that report to you directly. So how are you supporting their ability to care and manage for their energy? How are you caring for your own? Because we pick up on each other's energy, depletion, excitement, etc. And then what are you doing to facilitate the group? So if you're the leader of a family, how are you facilitating the energy of the entire family to be high, to be good, to be happy? How do you support conflict? How do you make space for safety when there's conflict? And then how do you work together, make decisions together, communicate together in a way that raises people's energy? So let me give you an example. If you're the kind of leader that wants control and wants to be right and wants to dictate to others what the rules are going to be and how we're going to achieve whatever it is that we're working on, then what might happen? Can you imagine what might happen to the energy of the people around you? If they have ideas, if they want to share something, if they think you're wrong, are they going to speak up? Do they feel safe? Do they feel comfortable with that? Or do they feel like I have to be quiet in order to be safe? I can't express myself in order to be safe. So as leaders, we have an awesome responsibility to recognize the impact we have on whatever system, group, team, family that we are influencing. We have a responsibility. So to summarize again, to recap, 1, what are you doing to manage your own energy as a leader? Because people around you are picking up on it. The neuroscientists have identified in our brain these things called mirror neurons. In less than a second, we can detect the energy of another person. We can detect what they're doing. We do that. We have those for evolutionary reasons so that we can learn from each other and we can learn quickly. So as a leader, you have an awesome responsibility because people are watching how you show up. So then think about what are you doing to create space for other people to manage energy? That's the second one. And the third one is, what are the systems that you have in place to ensure that everybody's energy of the entire group is being managed effectively?
Beautiful again. Thank you so much for answering that. And it really helps to understand certain tips and techniques that we can just like blindly follow. So that makes it more easier to practice such qualities. So now when you try to learn and when you try to inculcate such qualities as we mentioned prior, it's also important that we stay consistent with it. So we just read for once and then it's going for a toss, doesn't make any difference. So how do you stay consistent with your energy management routine amidst the demands of leadership? How do you do it personally and how do you suggest others do it?
So if I love the way you put that if we know we should be managing our own energy, but we don't do it, or we do it sporadically, it's going to have a big impact on how we show up. So first of all, we've got to find the practices. You've got to find the practice for you that works for you. And not just what works, but what gives you an obvious result, so that it creates that reinforcement so you want to keep going. So for example, if you know you should exercise, but you really don't enjoy it, then you're not going to do it consistently, right? And then it turns into this guilt trip around, well, I should be doing it. I know I should do it. I don't do it. What's the impact on my team that I'm not doing it, right? And that doesn't serve anybody. So I would suggest, I'll give the advice first, and then I'll share what I do second. So what I would suggest is first experiment with what are those restorative practices that help you find balance in your own energy. What are the practices that benefit you when you want to raise your energy? I love to dance. I love to play motivating music. I like to spend time with friends. I like to get a good night's sleep. All of those things may be what helps you restore your energy. What are the practices you need to bring your energy down, to prepare, to relax, to sleep, to feel restored? So if you don't know what those are, experiment, play with, talk to other people, and try different things until you find one thing, not 10 things, one thing. Try one thing at a time to figure out what works for you. In terms of, and then once you figure that out, then identify what do you need to do to fit that into your routine. A lot of times we think, oh my gosh, I don't have an hour to exercise, so I can't exercise. Well, scientists have shown if we exercised in 5-minute increments multiple times throughout the day, it has the same benefit, right? So notice all of the ways that you talk yourself out of taking care of your energy, managing your energy, restoring your energy. Because here's the thing, if you're not taking care of it, the people around you know you're not taking care of it. And one of the keys of being a leader is to be a role model. So find the thing, experiment till you find the thing, schedule it into your day or your week, and have that be as sacred as putting your children to bed every night, or doing your daily prayer if you're a person of faith that prays, or what are the other things? Buying groceries, right? Buying food for your family. You're not going to say, well, I should buy food, but I didn't buy food, and I guess I don't really have to. Well, maybe, you're not gonna debate that. You have to go and you have to shop and you have to buy food. So, or you grow your food or you make your food, whatever it is, your relationship with food. So what do I do to stay consistent? I register every time I do something restorative, every time I do something to manage my energy, I make a mental note. I scan my body physically to identify and acknowledge what the benefit of that was. So let me give you an example. I have a very healthy meal. It's not enough to just eat the healthy meal. At the end, I recognize, how does my body feel now that I've eaten something that's very healthy? And I just scan my body briefly and I notice, oh, I don't want to sleep. Oh, I'm not having the sugar crash that I do if I don't eat a good meal for myself. And so I acknowledge it. That's critical because then you reinforce the behavior. So your body, your brain, your heart knows, oh, this was beneficial to me. So I also schedule it into my day. I've talked before about my sitting practice. I start every morning, I listen to some gongs, and I just come into awareness of my body. I tune into my energy for the day. I ask myself throughout the day, how is my energy now? What is it that I need? So it's not just you got your exercise in and now you can ignore your energy the rest of the day. No, we've got to be ongoing, maintaining, monitoring that, and then notice the impact of your energy on others. That's the last piece of advice I'd give. If I have not eaten and I'm hangry and I snap at somebody, I know, I register, uh-oh, I did that because I'm not taking care of myself. Stop, take care of yourself, and then you can move on. So hopefully that helps. It's really an ongoing feedback loop for me. That's the best piece of advice I could give.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing what you do with us and all of our listeners. It's incredible. And the reason I asked you to share your experiences because I really wanted to make it more practical for our listeners, because what we say and what you are actually practicing. So once they understand all of that, it makes it more easier for them to put it into their own practices. So I thought it'll be better if I can ask you your strategy. So thank you so much for sharing that with all of us, Kyra. So moving on, we have spoken about this in few other episodes also, but I thought it is imperative that we talk about this in today's topic also, and that is mindfulness. So we can never get enough of talking about mindfulness because it's such an integrated or integral concept that's important for all of us. So now let us understand the role of mindfulness or meditation that plays in your energy management strategy. So could you please answer that for us?
Sure. So mindfulness is this term that's thrown around and we see it all over the place. And I think sometimes the term mindfulness can feel really big. Like I have to climb to the top of a mountain and I have to sit there for the rest of the day and I have to wait for some big realization to hit me. It's actually the complete opposite. Mindfulness is what I was just describing. Mindfulness is using your mind, the power of perception and observation, to become aware. Become aware of all of the different aspects of your well-being. Become aware of this moment. Become aware of what it is that you're doing, because in that awareness comes choice. We've talked about choice a lot. When we slow down and we're aware, we can be intentional about what we say, how we say it, what we do, how we do it, how we are without doing anything, and what that feels like. So when you think of mindfulness, it's as simple as turn off and close off all of the distractions. So our mind is processing, I can't remember what the number is. I think it's millions of stimuli in very small amounts of time. We're not even aware of the power of our brains. And so mindfulness teaches the brain to stop being so attentive to all the stimuli, slow it down, and just focus on this moment right now. Okay, so how can we apply mindfulness in a very practical way? Because I totally agree with you. This stuff isn't helpful if it's conceptual. So let's get really specific. So there are a number of aspects of well-being, of our well-being. There's the spiritual aspect. Now that may be faith for some of you. For some of you, it may just be tuning in to the bigger meaning and purpose of life. So if we're going to be mindful about our spiritual well-being, are there practices that you could be, some of the shoulds maybe that are going around in your mind, practices that can help you connect in to the world that's bigger than you? For some of us, that may be serving other people in a formal or informal way. It may be putting ourselves in nature, which is way bigger than us, so that we remember our proper place in the world. It may be doing some journaling about what is the meaning of my life? What do I want to accomplish in this life? It may be spending time teaching younger children or people around us, offering your own wisdom. So those would be ways to mindfully grow your spiritual well-being. What about physical well-being? So hopefully you can start to imagine for yourself as I'm going through these, how can we be mindful of our physical well-being? We can slow down when we're going to eat a piece of food. We can stop. We can imagine all of the people, all of the creatures, the bees, the worms, everything that is around us that has created this piece of food in this moment I am about to put into my body to nourish my body. So being a mindful eater means to take a moment to offer gratitude for all that has occurred for you to be able to eat this piece of fruit, for example. And then be thankful, be grateful. And then without watching TV, without reading something, without listening to music, without talking to somebody else, stop, take a bite of that fruit. Ooh, what does it feel like in your mouth? What's happening with your lips? Is there juice running down your face? What does it taste like? What is the texture in your mouth? What does it feel like to swallow it? Was it a big bite or a little bite? And imagine the nutrients going into your blood. Imagine that piece of fruit descending into your belly, etc., etc. Physical mindfulness may be walking, where you put your foot down and you actually imagine what's happening. Oh, I can imagine the bones in my feet. Oh, I can feel the surface of the floor or the ground underneath me. I can mindfully pick up the next foot and put it down. So there's so many different aspects of our physical nature. Think in terms of your senses. See, hear, smell, touch, taste. Slow down enough so that you notice the smell in the room or the smell of another person or the smell of your clothes as you put it on. That helps us come into the present moment. And then you can do this in other aspects of your life. How can you be mindful in your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, paying attention to your thoughts, your reactions to other people? How can you be mindful in terms of all of the sensory information that's coming in? How can you be mindfully using your computer or your phone or any other devices you have. So it's about being observant, paying attention without judgment, and then letting it go. So hopefully, we could talk for hours and hours about mindfulness, right? And the power of that. And I know you practice some of this as well, but hopefully those are really tangible things that we can do to start bringing mindfulness in to this moment into our daily lives.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for answering that, Kyra, in such an elaborate and simple manner, because it's, as you said, it's a lot complicated when you just hear it as a term, mindfulness. And then, once you break it down and, try to explain it bit by bit, it's easier to understand. And thank you so much for doing that for all of us. My last question for the day today is, how do you ensure that, the leaders, how do the leaders ensure that they are not only managing their own energy, but also fostering a high energy environment for the team?
So this starts with recognizing that the people on your team are human beings, just like you. And as a leader, your needs are not any more important than anybody else's needs. That said, we have to tend to our needs, right? So what this is about not being a sacrificial leader. It means recognizing I have needs, recognize, ask, understand, clarify what are the needs of the people on your team, however you're defining team, and then how do we together work together to support each other's needs. Very frequently, leaders will think of themselves as and their team as hierarchical. I'm the leader, so I'm better than you. So my needs get to be met over your needs. Your needs don't matter. That's one potential example. Or servant leadership. I don't matter. All of you matter. So the way I serve is to make myself small, to elevate you, and then it works out great. No, it doesn't, because your energy may end up being depleted if you're not careful and mindful of how you're serving. So my suggestion is that we understand as leaders, I have needs and you have needs. And when we recognize sometimes those needs are going to be in conflict, right? Maybe we're working toward a deadline at work and somebody has to go tend to a sick child. That might not be terribly convenient, but you know what? As a team, we're all going to support this team member because they're a human being, because they have a family and they need to go take care of the sick child. So without judgment, without penalty, without sort of disrespect, we're going to rally and we're going to figure out how we're going to get this done. That's how we manage energy as a team. We see ourselves as a whole. We recognize the individual contribution that everyone is making to the team, and then we work together. You don't have to have all the answers as a leader, as a parent. You don't have to know. A lot of times I think we as leaders think we're supposed to know, like some magical wisdom just falls from the sky and we're going to know what to do. No, we're not. Part of servant leadership, part of human-centric leadership is about recognizing sometimes I don't know, and it's okay. Guess what? When you don't know, amazing stuff can happen, because then you can start asking your kids, how are we going to manage this when you don't want to do your homework and I've got to get dinner on the table and you have to get to bed on time and I have to work? How are we going to manage all of these conflicts? Doesn't just have to be you. When we open ourselves up to other human beings, we recognize, wait, other people have really cool ideas and great contributions. And as I talk about that, do you feel the energy shift? Oh my gosh, the energy of the whole team rises. When we all feel respected, when we feel safe, when we know that what our contribution is matters, not only to the leader, but to the team as a whole. When we see ourselves in the collective, not as individuals, but as a collective moving forward together with common interests, with common desires, with common goals, with common achievements, then really great things can happen. And I hope that as I say that, you can feel the shift in energy. When we slow down, when we tend to our energy to the energy of others, now we come into our common humanity. That's what leadership is about. It's about recognizing that we're all different, but we can all have needs and they can all be served. Maybe not all at once, but where there's a will, there's a way. So I hope that that helps.
It sure does. It definitely does. Thank you so much once again, Kyra, for being so crystal clear in giving us these beautiful tips and techniques to be able to develop this beautiful quality of managing our own energy, as well as helping those around us to manage their energies effectively. So it was wonderful talking to you as always. Thank you so much for staying with us, and it was really great today as well. Thank you so much, Kira.
Thank you so much, Jayasree. It was wonderful to be with you all today. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. So that was Kyra Cavanaugh for all of you today, and you're listening to TALRadio, powered by Touch a Life Foundation. This is your host, Jayasree, signing off for today. Stay tuned and keep learning.